Now, face the mighty bison.
When we first seen Tekken 8, the developers right out the gate emphasized a more aggressive play style. And they talked about how Tekken 7, we seen a lot of turtling, a lot of defense, whiff punish, counter hits was a big deal. Really learning and mastering that defensive play style. Once you did that, you were able to dominate in Tekken 7, whether it be in ranked or whether it be in tournaments. We've seen some of the greatest players utilize this very defensive, passive style. And the developers, they felt like this was kind of boring. And with Tekken 8, they wanted to spice it up a little bit. I will agree to a certain extent that in Tekken 7, so many matches came down to the time. Both players just sitting back, staring at each other, Korean backdashing, and then you hear the clock start beeping down. Look at the time. Look at the time. Whoever is lower life in that scenario now is just forced to wildly charge the opponent and dream of victory. And I do understand how they would not want that scenario to be so frequent like it was in Tekken 7. It still happens in Tekken 8 from time to time, but not nearly as much. So I do understand the problem that they were trying to fix and how they wanted to emphasize the players to attack and go on the offensive. Now, we all know the solution that they came up with was heat, chip damage, plus frames, aggressions, many different 50-50 situations being flooded into the game. And a lot of players, they do want some of this stuff to change. We know the defense update is coming around the corner. But what I thought was so interesting about Tekken 8 is how players are all feeling very tired. I personally used to play Tekken 7 for hours, like 4 hours, 5 hours. When I got the time, I'm spending it on Tekken 7. But when I play Tekken 8, I play like a couple of matches and then I'm like kind of done with it. I go do something else, I go play a different game, and I see the same thing being repeated on Twitter as well. Like here's a tweet from King J. King J says, "Am I the only one who cannot play Tekken 8 longer than 3 or 5 hours? My mind feels crazy tired. Guess it might be because all of the guessing at fast rates or something. Like fatigue kicks in at like 2 hours, but I still play on. Just found it interesting as it never happened before." Responds to himself and says, "Definitely liking the game more than the release patch. I don't think it's getting old. I think it's just the amount of 50-50 situations more difficult at a high level." Now I have another tweet from a different content creator, but I do want to pause and talk about this one because I do think it's interesting, right? The game is playing at a faster pace, and a lot of that faster pacing is just guessing 50-50s, high, low, mid, power crush, guard break, unblockable. It's a lot of like thinking over high octane, high stress situations. Like we always talked about how with Tekken 7, rank is stressful, right? Fighting, battling, trying to defeat your opponent, climb up the ranks. You see a demotion match, your adrenaline starts running, you know what's at stake. Tekken 8 takes that to the extreme. And now I'm not like, just like King J, right? I think it's okay to say the game makes us tired without saying the game is bad. I think Tekken 8 is incredible. The game is exciting. I think the developers succeeded in their goal of upping the ante and making the game more fun, exciting to watch. But as a side effect of that, players who play the game for a long duration of time, they start to feel a little bit more drained, a little bit more empty. Their tank is gone. Let's look at the next tweet from Fighting GM. This person says, "Tekken 8 is literally who overwhelms who first wins. Having patience and waiting for your opponent so you can actively make adjustments is a weakness. You literally have to always be active to win. This is why the game is bad. Block, die from chip or mix up." Now this tweet is a little bit more critical of the game. Like I said, we all have our different perspectives on what we want the game to be and how we think of the game now. But regardless of how you view it, I'm seeing a common trend throughout where players who are trying to play a passive style die. Like we see Nee struggling so incredibly in tournaments because he's trying to play this more passive, waiting, counter hit, whiff punishing style, and it just doesn't work. So everyone is being forced to be rushed down. And for a lot of people, it's extremely difficult to keep that up for a long duration of time.